Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. Sorry for being a little bit tardy. As a teacher, sorry about that, class. Okay, well, before we start talking to this amazing lady, her name is Miss Chellie Phillips. And I say that because I was typing and it was, yeah, whatever. We're just going to jump into this, and it's going to be an amazing event. And I can't wait for all y'all to. I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now. And we're back. We've all had a breath. We've all had a drink of water, and it's good. All right, Miss Chellie Phillips, tell us what you are all about and introduce yourself. I am so excited for you to be here tonight.
Hi, I'm excited to be here too. And, the great thing about this is, this is real life. This is what happens. This is what coaches deal with. This is what authors deal with. This is what moms deal with. This is what teachers deal with. And so that's what makes it real. And, the biggest thing is, I talk about as part of personal branding is being authentic to yourself. And if this isn't being authentic, I don't know what is. And so, a little about me. I am the author of 2 books, and I'm gonna spill a super secret. Number 3 is on the way, which we can talk about in a little bit. And, I am a branding strategist. And so specifically dealing with personal branding and how that can help you in your career, and also how employers can use it to help turn their employees into brand advocates for themselves. But basically, what we're going to talk about, anybody who wants to grow their brand can use a lot of these tips, whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's someone looking for a job, however you want to apply the tactics, there's a way that you can use it in life.
Amazing, amazing. That's exactly it. Hello, David. Hello, Sunny. Thank you guys for jumping in here with us this evening. And that personal brand is something that is awesome. And like she said, real life and being authentic to everything that happens is the best, because then the curtain is there, it's opened up. And I think people are just tired of facades and the fake, and it's ready to get real, to get raw, but to do it in such a way that allows for that boss, for your job, for your own, maybe you're the one hiring, to know what it is, what team you're going to be building, right? So
Absolutely.
your personal brand, this is part of all of Chellie's, it's like foundational for her. Almost everything jumps off from this. So for anyone that's new, hello, Facebook user. Hello. For anyone that might be new to Miss Chellie or anything that she does, I want you to listen up. Chellie, give us kind of the branding 101 and why this is so important.
Okay, so I can make this super simple so that everybody gets it. When you think of a brand, what is the thing that you think of? If I say Heinz, you're probably going to think ketchup. If I say Rolex, you're probably going to think fancy smancy watch. But a brand is really just what you think about. So it's like your reputation. It's basically saying something that implies who you are and what you're all about. And the really cool thing is that we can control that narrative. And that's super important these days because you think about how much is digital and how much is online. And if you're not controlling that narrative about what people are thinking about you and what they're finding out about you, someone else is going to be controlling it for you. And it's almost worse if you don't have anything out there because then people assume there's something you're hiding or they must not want me to know about them. And so, whether you're looking for that career or whether you're looking to hire somebody or whether you're looking to launch yourself into a business or you're promoting a book or whatever you're doing, building that brand is super important because it really is what makes you stand out. It's what you want to get noticed for. It's your differentiator. It's what makes you different than somebody else. And one of the best ways I can put that is like I mentioned Rolex before. But you think about what's the difference between a Rolex and a Timex? They both tell
Well,
time,
yeah, they both tell time. They're both watches,
but
probably money.
yeah, one's worth about 20 grand more than the other. but they both do the same thing. And so your brand is what helps you increase that value. And if you're looking for a job or you're looking for a promotion, then your value perception is super important because that's what you're going to be able to say, I'm worth in the workplace and I deserve this paycheck because I'm bringing this value to the table for you.
That's right. And bringing a value is incredible. So, authors, listen up. There's something really important that we need to know. So many of us have incredible stories, a gift, a a fiction tale, whatever it is that we want to get out there. And if we are, I would say, hiding behind something else, fear usually is that, or marketing struggles because, well, I'm just the writer, I'm not this, I'm not that. What do you want people to know you as? They want you to become this, they will see you in such a way that is so important to what your future, opportunities with other people can be, how your book sales will actually happen. And so, you know, if things aren't happening for you right now, you really want to look into this personal branding and say, well, what am I putting out there? What is actually, like Chellie said, your reputation? What is preceding me? And if this is muddled and not understood very well, then yeah, it's probably blocking you from a lot of great opportunities.
And I think a lot of people get hung up on is that they think branding requires me to have all of this graphic design skill, or I need to be this super technical person that can use all these tools to create these amazing videos and do these great slideshows and all this other kind of stuff. But, that's just a piece of it. And, there's so many tools out there now today that make it easy and they're even free. You don't even have to invest in them. So many of them have free options that you can start playing with. But I want people to get past that idea that branding is just a post on social media. Branding is so much more than that. It's about you controlling that narrative. And one of the best ways that you can do that is by making connections with people, whether that's in person or whether that's digitally on your like LinkedIn profiles or your social profiles, like being parts of groups, being active. And then the other piece of that is that in person connection that you have with people. Whether it's a book signing event, are you engaging with the people who are coming by your table? Are you talking with them? Are you taking pictures with them so they feel like, hey, I'm actually part of this equation that, that I'm happy that you're here too. And, are you letting them be seen on your pages so that people see other people just like themselves? The whole idea of this branding thing is to attract the right audience to you. And that can be for an entrepreneur or an author, it could be someone who's going to buy their product or their book. But for someone that's looking for a job, it's the employer with the right opportunity, or it's that connection that they've made that knows about the right opportunity and says, hey, I've got the perfect person in mind for you. I know they have these skills and I want to connect you with something. And the really interesting fact is that over 80% of new opportunities come through your network. They don't come from a job posting or something like that. They actually come because someone thinks of you and your brand that we're talking about, your value, your skills, your worth. And they actually say, hey, I think this is a good fit for you. Do you mind if I connect you? And do you want to have a conversation about this? And I think people get really hung up that they think that branding is something that they're not good at or that they're not capable of doing, or they fear maybe what they're going to put out there, that somebody's going to make fun of it, they're going to make a mistake at it. And the great thing about your brand is that it can grow and evolve with you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a reflection of who you are and what you're doing.
I love that. That allows for flexibility and growth because there's there is that facade, right, of the perfection. When I do, or when I get, all these things or have it all perfectly lined up, then I can display it. And if you just take the action and get started, there's so much more that can actually happen in such a way that can be so powerful, and it really helps to bring things so much faster. I remember just starting my journey in 2018, and I'm like, well, this is what I think I can do, so I'll just start. And a lot of people didn't know who I was, and I just still needed to start. And as I got into it, kind of like anyone, when you start getting your feet wet and start swimming around in the pond, you're like, oh, and then you can add other things, and you start to grow and develop even more. And so then you can maybe clean up a few things, fine tune a few things, and keep that progress ever going. Mm, and that's really forgiving, right? Because if we were
Yeah.
stuck with the only thing out there, oh, that would be embarrassing.
I look at it and I go, I am definitely not the same person that I was at 18 or 25 or even 30. And if I was stuck with that brand that I had built then, how sad would that be? Because I mean, like, it would not have shown any growth. It wouldn't have shown the fact that I'd learned new skills. It wouldn't have even shown that I was interested in growing and developing and doing that kind of thing. And, that's the great thing about your personal brand is that it truly can evolve. It's on the journey with you. And, people like to see, if you think about like Instagram and all these other places, it's the behind the scenes posts that give the most traction, right? Everybody wants to see what goes on behind the scene. What's the real way that this comes together? So when we can show that on our career journeys, even is that we have put together this whole process from personal development to leadership development to skills training. Maybe it's awards that you've won, or maybe it's in office that you've achieved these steps and you've moved up. And you can show that you're taking all these things and making progress. I mean, people want to help you, and that's the really neat thing when you start putting it out and you start sharing it, is that other people are going to learn from you. So like if you're sitting here waiting for that perfect moment to start, I want you to think about how many people are not learning from you right now. Because you think about how many people are farther steps behind you are, and, like if they can learn from you, what a great resource that you can be. Think of yourself as a mentor for those people that are, following along in your footsteps. Can you make it easier for them? Can you share tips that worked for you? Same thing works in a career. Can I build my team members up? Can I share their wins? Can I help them grow? Can I make them feel appreciated and valued? And you think about what that does to the culture of a workplace. When people feel valued and they feel that their job has worth and that they're making an impact on other people, their job satisfaction goes sky high and they want to stay there. They become more productive, which in turn means that business is more profitable, which means great things for management and any kind of investors or stockholders that you might have. And so it's really a win win. When you get brave and you make that first step and you start sharing out who you are and what you're becoming, it just has this wonderful trickle effect.
That's right. And it is something that really can penetrate a lot deeper than we even think. So, okay, I'm going to back up a second. You are the author of two books, one award winning, another one is amazing that I can see it off to the side there, Get Noticed, Get Hired. So, what is the branding information that are within those books?
So my first book, When in Doubt, Delete It, as I am repping here with my T-shirt tonight. I figure I might as well, if we're going to talk branding, I might as well be all about it. And it's like you can brand subtly by just wearing it on your clothes. Um, but this book was more of a self-help, more kind of motivation. And it was really about all the lessons that I've learned in life that, how can we add more joy? How can we add more success and clarity to our life? And for those of you that don't know, my original background was in journalism. So I started as a radio news reporter, and then I went to newspaper, and then I've moved into corporate public relations. And if you've ever had an editor, or maybe if you think back to when you were in high school or college and you had to turn in an essay or some kind of paper, you'll normally get it back from your teacher, and they have all these red marks all over them about everything that you did wrong, every grammatical error, everything that didn't make sense to them, everything they thought you should fix. So, When in Doubt, Delete It is based on what I call life edits. And it's kind of loosely based on the proofreader's marks that editors use. So, there's things that you should delete from life, like negativity and drama, that there's things that you should insert, like self belief, And there's things that you should insert, like celebrations. Then there's things that you should move towards or away. And that's either move towards more some kind of professional development or some kind of interest that you want to learn about, whether it's even a hobby or not. And maybe move away from people that are dragging you down because some relationships aren't meant to be lifetime relationships. Sometimes we need to move on and change our circle so that we can continue to grow. So it's kind of a book that reflects all the different stages in life and how we can be more successful. But a lot of it is about branding itself in kind of a subtle way because if you talk about that self belief, that I believe I can do these things and I should share these things and I should help other people achieve and do well, that's a piece of branding. And then Get Noticed, Get Hired takes it one step further and it really dives into the career. So it's branding yourself for that new job that you want, whether you're a first-time job seeker or you're in, a young professional that's looking to make a name for themselves. It walks through the resume, it walks through building a LinkedIn profile that gets attention, interview tips and secrets. And then the big piece of it to me is how do you brand yourself once you're employed? Because you don't want to just stagnate. You want to continue to grow and continue to move up inside that organization. So, how do you get noticed for all the right reasons? And how can you use that personal brand to really showcase your value so that you're continuing to get raises and higher increases as you move along? So, that book is really, truly a lot of personal branding as far as career development goes. And the other one is kind of the more subtle behind the scenes of these are all the things that come from when you brand yourself really well and you open yourself to opportunities.
Right. Amazing. I hope you guys were listening to that because I actually take pieces of her book and I add it into my classroom and show I teach a lot of special needs students that haven't had a lot of different kinds of opportunities. They've been working really, really hard at increasing their math and their reading and their writing skills, which is great. We also work on our social skills and so on and so forth. But now they're in high school and they want the job. They look at their peer group and they're like, that's what we want. How can we do that? And so job focus and interviewing and writing down resumes and doing applications and all these things. Yes, that's a part of all of this. But actually, right now, what we're doing, I have a 7-step process in this based on what Miss Chellie Phillips has done. This idea of how can I help my students learn how to brand themselves? And break down, well, what do I like? What am I part of? Am I honest? Am I someone that's reliable? And we break down all of these personal characteristics and attributes and all this fun stuff. And we do it in a way with a lot of pictures and supports and stuff. And then they kind of cut and paste an image of themselves. And from there, we start the practice of writing and almost memorizing some of these scripts for themselves because like and I know and anyone who's gotten a job or has ever interviewed that question, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And they're like, well, they could go on to stories and all these things. So this whole action that we do is to keep them focused on kind of a 6-sentence memorized script for themselves so they can stay right there. And again, this is just a fraction of what Miss Chellie Phillips said. I mean, I don't know if you actually say memorize this, but for my students, it's this big support because they usually do the deer in the headlight, right? When you ask the question, they're still, oh, it's my turn. Yeah, it's your turn.
I
So
really
it's
love that
huge
idea
helpful.
though of almost making a vision board out of who you are. I mean, that is a fabulous way of putting it, like there's all different kind of learners in the world, like some of us are visual learners, some of us are action learners. We have to do it to learn it, and some of us are readers and some of us are listeners. And I love that idea of actually putting it as a visual so I can see the representation and it becomes very, very real. You know, it's almost a lot like, when I'm working with clients a lot, I talk to them if they're struggling to kind of get started about how do I define myself, like how do I really know what people think of me right now? So like we kind of call it doing a brand audit when we get started is like what's your reputation right now as far as your skills and your work ability? And, I tell them talk to 5 people and ask them, "What is the things that you think I'm good at?" Or, "What are the first 3 skills that you think of?" Or, "What 3 words describe me?" And I tell them, get a cross sampling of your life. You don't want it to be all your friends who are going to tell you, oh, you're amazing. Oh, you're the best. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You want people that'll be honest with you and give you maybe you have great, math skills, or maybe that you're a great organizer, or maybe you have a quick temper and you don't need to deal with the public. All these things are important that and, if you're struggling, another way to look at it too is decide what you don't want to be. And you go ahead and take those off the list. And so sometimes when you start thinking, like think opposites. If this is what I don't want to be, what does that make me? And it can be a way to kind of open up the mind because a lot of people have a hard time talking about themselves. We're all raised that, oh, you shouldn't brag about yourself, you shouldn't talk about yourself. And that's contrary to doing personal branding, is because that's all about yourself. And a lot of people feel really uncomfortable putting that out there for the world to see, is like, oh, this feels kind of icky. But, a little bit you can do it in a way that it's not showboaty, and it's not, narcissistic in any kind of way like that, but it becomes really truly a reflection of the accomplishments and achievements that you have. And then especially if you're doing it in the tone of you're recognizing others along the way who have impacted that journey, or, who have made this accomplishment able for you to achieve, you know, it's that gratitude piece, I think, is that, when you can show a little gratitude and you can help somebody else, that personal branding becomes even that much more powerful.
Right. That personal branding is really powerful. And I love how you say we always tell the kids that your portfolio is your, that's your showcase, because I mean, yeah, I work with a lot of students with autism, and sometimes they don't have the best skills to actually, verbalize some of the things, but they can show their projects. Oh my gosh, you get them started on their project. This is what I did. Brrr, they will share so much, and their excitement goes through. But if you were to ask them, in that traditional way of this, they either clam up or, you know, maybe share something that they shouldn't have. So it's kind of fun. But when they show their work, their project, that is what is the show off. That's what's showing, oh, you have this skill. Okay. And, learning more about what their skills are and what they like and how they can add that to, wow, that could really help someone. They get this sense of real pride, and they're like, yeah, I can. And it's really fun to watch, and I'm sure it amplifies even more, depending on what it is that you're working on. So have you ever shared, or do you want to share a time when a client kind of had a big discovery for themselves through this process that you have?
There's been a couple, it was when the pandemic started, and that whole great resignation or great reevaluation, whatever, whatever catchphrase you want to go by and look at right now, people really did start reevaluating. And I had a couple of teachers that I was working with, which you'll probably find very interesting, April, since you're in this profession. And they really were, because, schools were shut down and there was a new way of teaching. It was all, virtual, online. And, a lot of the teachers really struggled with that because they really liked that interaction with the kids, especially some that taught these younger grades. Like, you know, they felt like that there was a disconnect, and part of it was having them in the classroom and building that relationship and watching them grow, and they were missing that. And so, some of it was interesting in the regards to, I've been in this career for 20 years. I'm now at a time where I can actually look at doing something I don't want to teach the rest, like this for the rest of my life. And are we ever going back to normal? And so, doing some of that self reflection, one of them said, after going through the whole process, oh gosh, no, I can't think of anything I'd rather do. And that to me is an amazing thing too, because it was like, you have found your calling, and you need to let the world know that I am good at this. And these are the things that I accomplish. And I bring these things to these kids' lives. And no matter how difficult it is, or how trying it is, or whatever whatever roadblock you want to throw in my way, we're going to figure out a way around it and make it happen. The other one decided that no, teaching was not for them anymore. That, It just lost its appeal. And, while that was kind of sad in one sense, it was also enlightening in another because they were so excited about being able to try some new things. And, their kids were out of the house now. And so it was kind of just, it was a good time to really try some things that, they weren't dependent upon, I could take a few months off and try something and do it. Um, and so watching that journey, kind of watching somebody rebrand, how can I take these skills that I had, like classroom management, which if you're a teacher, you understand that there's a lot of management that happens inside a classroom when you have a bunch of kids and you're trying to keep them on task and making sure everybody's getting things done when they're supposed to, not to mention all the paperwork that you have to do and the lesson plans and everything else. So, how can we reframe that and make it where it's something appealing in a corporate setting? And so, like actually seeing them, that light come on, that, oh my gosh, my skills are so transferable. That's kind of an amazing thing in itself. And then probably my favorite story lately right now is I worked with a guy who had been in a banking career for several years. And they had kind of something similar that I went through, like a management change in their organization. And he just wasn't happy there anymore. And as we were going through this process, we were actually in a stage where we were looking at building out his LinkedIn, building a headline, building that summary area, which, if you don't know it, that's like the high dollar real estate on LinkedIn. You need to focus on those areas, the headline and the summary. If you don't take anything else away, focus on that. And his summary is what you want to use to catch someone's attention. And it's usually first person, which is kind of awkward for people to write in sometimes, but when we were working through it, he was actually sharing a story with me about that he had always been interested in real estate. And the reason he was interested in real estate was because his dad used to take him when he was growing up to their rental property that they had. And he associated that rental property with his family's vacations and then being able to do all the fun thing, because that's where the extra income in that house came from, was from the rent that they made off of these homes. And so in his mind, rental property was always this thing that made life fun, was because we got to take vacations because of it. And he had always stayed interested in it, like kept up with trends, even had worked some in the mortgage lending, pieces of banking and that kind of thing. But he never really investigated what would it be like for me to actually sell, or maybe I want rental property that I want to manage and do it. And so, working through that process and him telling that story, I told him, I said, this needs to be a part of who you are. And he actually made the shift to becoming a real estate salesperson. And now that story is part of his journey. That I have, like he's been interested in real estate since he was 10 years old. And this is what it means. And now his branding statement is that he can help add to your family's joy or financial security through obtaining the right rental properties. And, to me, that's amazing when it kind of comes full circle and you can see it, like they light up when they tell it. And you've hit on it, because it's like it's something that, it brings out that emotion, and it's something that people can really connect with. If you met him and you heard him tell that story about this 10-year-old going to help his dad work on a set of stairs or fix a door or fix something that was broken at the house, and how that equated to him getting to go to Disney World and all these other places. I mean, you could just feel the passion when he was talking about it. And he wants to be able to give that same feeling to other families now. And so, I mean, it was a perfect fit.
That's awesome. The story, the intensity of learning really what can change after you've done something that you've experienced over a while, and like, oh my gosh. And like you said, it came full circle back to him. And now, what an opening. I think our experiences in life really can lead us far away from maybe something that we actually want, because we're worried that we'll never get it. So we'll just, go as far as we can away from it. But then there is always that opportunity, that window that opens up, and you start looking back at it again, like, okay, and with good coaching, with all of the great things that you have in both of your books, and now your third book that's coming out, this branding really makes the difference. So I hope all of you guys in business, those great authors out there. I hope all of you were able to hear something that maybe touched yourself to think, touched inside. Yeah, there is more. What could I add to my branding that people maybe don't know about me that really sticks out, that is a skill that I can really help other people with? I know I've shared this part before is when I was doing my interview as we moved cross country to try and get the teaching position I'm in now. I started my interview just signing and I wasn't even realize it was even signing. It was just, I think it was Zoom trained because we were up on Zoom. And for that year and a half up on Zoom, you better start signing because I was teaching at a deaf school. Anyway, this was not for a deaf school at all. But that Zoom popped up and I was interpreting everybody, signing for everyone in the whole thing. And finally they said, "You realize you're signing that?" Oh, yes, sorry. But not sorry, but more like, "Oh, excuse me, sorry." And what was funny was I actually have a deaf student in my class. And I would have never have known that. Nothing. They were just, hire me for a position. And you could see, I started to see like the in the eyes, like this is going to be the fit. What is a skill that I would have never have done in an interview, but I think just the habit and the training was like, oh, Zoom's up. I better start. Interpret for you. Interpret. Oh, y'all don't need this. Okay. So funny, but hey, I agree with you, Karen. Everything happens for a reason. So, but I'm really grateful for Chellie because she gave me some of these great insights for this opportunity, which allowed our family to take up a whole new adventure. And so I am really just so grateful for her work and everything. All right, brags on, that's for sure. Thank you, Miss Chellie. So if anyone has any questions about this personal branding and how you want to, jump into this and do this, Chellie, where can they find you and what do you have to offer for them?
So, the easiest way to find me is my website, which is scrolling across the bottom right now, chellyphillips.com. And then also connect with me on LinkedIn because I post several times a week on LinkedIn, and it's all about the blog posts. You'll find any kind of podcasts like this. You'll find replays of all of that, making it happen. And I even post a lot of freebies there. So like like you can actually work through some of this yourself. And, I think you're going to share this in the links and stuff. But, if people want to really investigate building their brand, I have a freebie that you can download tonight. And it's at chellyphillips.com/, build my brand. All one word, but just build my brand, and you're going to be able to walk through a series of questions that kind of gets you started, and they're geared for whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're working on your personal brand yourself or maybe some professional growth or development. The questions are going to apply no matter what. You just have to think of it like when it asks, what is your audience? It's not going to be someone that you're selling to, but it's gonna be a particular employer. What kind of employer? What industry? What kind of person? Like what kind of job placement are you looking for? So just think about the questions in the terms of how you want to use them. And that's going to be a great way to kind of start this conversation with yourself. Because, like you said, taking that first step is the first most important piece, is because it's putting that action to it and starting it happening.
Awesome. That is exactly it. Everyone, thank you so much for jumping in here tonight. Thank you, Miss Chellie Phillips, for being an incredible guest, as always, and working through all of the bumps and hiccups that happen. We're so grateful. And I cannot wait for book number 3 to come out. This is going to be incredible. Do you want to drop us a little hint of maybe what this third book's about?
I'm happy to tease you a little bit with it. And this book is all about corporate culture, and not only in the sense of why it's important for the company, but how the company can create a culture that's irresistible for their employees so that they can thrive as well as the company can thrive. And I call it value culture. And the value stands for something specific, but I'm not going to give it all away yet here. We'll have to save something for the launch down the road. But think about it, like people are when their work is aligned with their personal values and the company mission, kind of cements that in place. It says my company believes in these same values and that kind of thing. Think of what a win win that is for both sets of people, whether that's the CEO or whether that's the employee. Everybody's going to win in that situation.
Ah, amen. There you are, everybody. Thank you so much for popping in, showing up here live. Please go ahead and share this out with everyone that you know. We will drop in all of the links to her books, to Chellie Phillips, into the freebie that was offered tonight. And we are so grateful for all the great, preparation she does, and for all of this fantastic work. Thank you so much, Chellie.
Thanks for having me. I always love being with you.
Ah, love it too. All right, everybody. We'll catch you later next week. Bye bye.